What is going on, world? What's up, Twitch? What's up, guys? It's Zero here. Today I'm bringing you guys a brand new episode of the Gears Cast. Welcome everyone to the Gears Cast, the best Gears of War podcast here on YouTube, and I'm super excited about our episode here today. We have a lot of stuff to talk about, so let's get into it. Gears 6, guys, and why I believe that this is a title that should exist in the gaming landscape. So let's talk about that. I think this is a very important topic because there's a lot of people that are saying that, I'm certainly it's not the biggest narrative going around the Gears of War community as of late, but there are people saying that Gears 6 should actually be put on the back burner and not be the main title that's up and coming. There's a lot of people saying that the Gears of War collection should be the focal point of the next Gears of War title. There's people saying that it should be a different, like a spin-off, so to speak, of Gears of War, should be the next up and coming iteration that the Coalition should be working on. There's a lot of talk about what that next title is going to be and what it should look like. And so I'm here to talk in this first segment of the show about, Gears 6 and why this should be the next game, the next iteration of Gears of War moving forward, and why it should exist. Whereas a lot of people are saying that maybe the Coalition shouldn't be the ones, making another Gears of War title because they have a sour taste in their mouth about, Gears of War 4 or Gears 5 or whatever the Coalition's done up to this point, which I think that the Coalition's done an incredible job in terms of bringing back, Gears of War to all of us. I mean, obviously they're responsible for bringing back Gears of War as a franchise, and that, a title, a franchise that was in a limbo state, a potential state of no return. And, after Gears of War Judgment came out, which I believe was the Dark Ages of Gears of War. And so now where we stand right here, or sit right here, Gears 6 is allegedly being worked on as the next, iteration of the franchise by the Coalition. And I think this is really important because I have said this many times on the channel. And by the way, guys can check out all of my new Gears of War content every single day on the YouTube channel. We are growing every day, and I appreciate each and every one of you who are on this journey with us. But that being said, Gears 6, in my mind, needs to be the next iteration of Gears of War. Certainly, I think the Gears of War collection has a place, and Gears of War collection should exist as well. I don't think that the Coalition should be the ones working on the Gears of War collection, because I think that a remaster, there's a number of other development studios that could do a remaster of Gears 1, 2, 3, as well as Gears of War Judgment. And so Gears 6, though, why this is a title that should exist is because not only is it going to be another, a title that continues the legacy, continues the lore of Gears of War moving forward. There's so many different narratives around, Gears of War at this point in time. When you really think about it, what transpired in Gears 5, from even just a campaign perspective, there was a lot there. There's a lot of things that we could really, take in there, from a semi-open world scenario to the choices that you had to make, which were some of the, biggest choices that we've ever had to make in a Gears of War title to date. And even though I don't 100% agree with the direction that the Coalition went in when it came to Gears 5 and the narrative and the storylines that were there, I still feel that it's important that now, moving forward, obviously the Coalition, they made their choice based on, giving us, the player, the choice at the end of Gears 5 to choose between either JD or Dell in terms of who we wanted to see the demise of. Even though I think a lot of people didn't necessarily want that to be a choice. Choices in Gears of War has always been a thing, but a choice like that was definitely one that I was not a huge fan of, especially because JD was the character that we played as in Gears of War 4. I felt like they moved on way too quickly from JD in terms of us playing as that character. Even though I like Kate Diaz, I just think that they should have definitely stuck it out with JD a little bit longer, right? I thought the narratives were awesome when we went from that original trilogy of Gears of War with Marcus Phoenix, and now, playing the torch was passed from Marcus to JD in Gears of War 4. I thought that was awesome. And then get to Gears 5, and obviously, you know, Kate Diaz, who I still like as a character. I just think that we moved on too quickly from JD. But that's neither here nor there. At the end of the day, Gears 6 is something that obviously we want to see what happens, right? In terms of the campaign. The choices that we make from Gears 5, is that going to translate over to as canon in Gears 6? Or is the Coalition going to choose canon for us? It's going to be very, very interesting. Like maybe somehow JD or Adele, whichever one that you decided to kill off in Gears 5, maybe neither one of them's dead. And they kind of have this interesting twist of events that happens. I think that Gears 6, a lot of people are talking like this is going to round out the newest trilogy, the Coalition's trilogy of Gears of War. And even though like I've said this a lot of times, but you know, Rod Ferguson, who was the studio head at the Coalition, he had mentioned that a Gears 6 as well as a Gears 7 were all confirmed by him, as well as a Gears War movie. And so, you know, Gears 6, I think, could be the end of this sort of trilogy that the Coalition is working on, and the beginning of another trilogy, potentially, depending on how well it does. I mean, obviously, Gears 5 sold very well. This is one of the best-selling games, you know, franchises for Xbox. So I really believe that Microsoft has plans to continue Gears of War for the foreseeable future. But Gears 6 is a title not only from a legacy perspective. We want to know about the lore, like what happened here. Obviously, I would love to see, you know, this next upcoming title kind of be like the Gears of War 2 for the Coalition. And what I'm getting at when I say that is when you think of Gears of War 4, it reminds me of Gears of War 1. Epic Games' Gears of War 1. And then Gears 5, the Coalition's Gears 5, reminds me of, you know, Epic Games' Gears of War 3. Now, obviously, Gears of War 3 is my favorite game of all time. It's the greatest Gears title ever made, in my personal opinion. And so, you know, you got some living up to do there. But what I'm getting at when I say that is that the brighter maps, you know, obviously it wasn't quite as gritty and as dark as some of as Gears of War 4 or Gears 2 or Gears of War 1. And Gears of War 3 definitely was dark in certain scenarios, but it wasn't as dark as like Gears of War 2. So we really haven't had that true Gears of War 2 title from the Coalition, and that's why I believe that Gears 6 could very well be that title that so many fans want to see. It seems like many people really want them to go back to this incredibly dark and very gritty style Gears of War title, and I agree. I would love to see that as well. I love Gears 5 for what it is. I really liked it, and you know, not everybody liked Gears 5, but I love Gears 5. I love Gears of War 4. I thought that was probably the most competitive game I've ever seen, from esports to just, you know, when you're jumping into lobbies and such. So I thought Gears of War 4 is a great step in a great direction for the Coalition. If you want to consider Gears 5 to be a step in the wrong direction, obviously with the support ending by the Coalition for Gears 5, obviously, Gears Esports is no longer, at least for the foreseeable future, you know, with Gears 5. I think that all hands are on deck now for the Coalition when it comes to Gears 6. At least that's what I'm hoping, because Gears 6, you know, should be the number one priority by the Coalition. And I've heard, you know, rumors and rumblings, speculation that the Coalition's working on a number of things. The Perfect Dark reboot. They're also helping out, you know, with this new IP altogether. They're working on that, their own IP that's totally new, and as well as Gear 6, right? They might have their hands in, you know, Gears Tactics 2, if that's something that's happening. Maybe a Gears Pop 2. I mean, who knows? They're working on multiple projects, so we all know this. But at the end of the day, Gears 6, guys, should exist for a multitude of reasons. There's not just one specific reason why it should exist. I mean, the community at large deserves Gears 6 to have a very good Gears title. And I think that now that the Coalition's taken their time, they're doing this thing right, Microsoft is allowing them to take their time with this thing. I think that we have, there's a lot of excitement brewing and a lot of excitement that's obviously coming to the forefront here for Gears of War as a whole. Even though we're still probably, a couple of years away from Gears 6 hitting shelves, I think that there's still a lot of things to be very excited about, and I can't wait to continue covering Gears 6 for you guys, or whatever the next iteration of Gears of War is that comes out. I'm very excited about it. I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts about it. Do you guys think that Gears 6 should exist, or do you guys think that, seems like there's some people that believe that Gears 6 shouldn't be the next game that's being worked on. It should be the Gears of War collection, or it should be something, a spin-off or something of that nature. Some people are saying that the Coalition should not be the ones working on the next Gears of War title, which I think is crazy, but there are people and everyone is entitled to their opinion. I'd love to hear yours though in the comment section down below. Let me know what you guys think about this, and for more Gears 6 content and videos, stay here with Zero TV. When we're talking about in terms of just, Gears of War as a whole, and we're talking about like the community at large, the Gears community, Gears fam, there's a lot of, content creators that are creating content, and I've been reacting to a lot of this content that other creators are creating, because I think that obviously everyone's entitled to their opinion, like I said and alluded to earlier. So I want to go ahead, guys, and I want to talk about a couple of things here. This next segment of the show, I want to talk in particular about, there was a video that came out called Gears of War is the most skilled shooter ever made. And I definitely want to talk about this. This is a video that came out from a guy named J. Bowen Daman, who is a content creator, and I definitely wanted to give him some shine here
and describe to you guys why I personally believe Gears of War is the most skilled franchise out of every first-person and third-person shooter game I have ever played. Now, obviously, this video is going to be completely opinion-based, so clearly I don't speak for everybody, so leave your opinions down in the comment section on what you think is personally the most skilled shooter game out there. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I have played a lot of different first-person shooters and third-person shooters. I've played all the popular titles between games like Call of Duty, Battlefield, Fortnite, Apex Legends. I played tac shooters such as Rainbow Six Siege, really hardcore tac shooters like CSGO and Valorant. I've even played some of the, more lower-end first-person and third-person shooters as well, games that aren't as popular for their multiplayer side of things, but more popular for the campaign. Things like The Last of Us and the Uncharted franchise. I used to dabble in the multiplayer experiences all the time, and I absolutely love them to death. But out of all the years of experience that I've had, and all the shooting games that I've ever played, Gears of War, to me personally, again, all opinion-based, but Gears of War, to me personally, is the most skillful, unique, and also it adds a nice casual side for people who aren't even trying to be competitive to still enjoy the overall flow of this game. Gears of War is truly a special title, not only with the casual gameplay, but also in esports, because it's more than just shooting your weapon. It's more than just having the best accuracy. Let's be honest here. In Gears of War, there's not much aiming involved anyways. The majority of the high-skilled players are going to be running around with the Nasher shotguns. If you're using a Lancer, it's usually to, pluck down some enemies who are trying to get a power weapon or something of that sort. But very rarely is someone going to try to attack you with a Lancer. I mean, the most you'll see is someone pull out a pistol. But down to its core, everybody is running and gunning with shotguns. It's the most fast-paced, hardcore experience you'll ever find in any shooting game.
So I want to talk about this really quick. I think, he makes a really interesting point, because there's been a lot of negativity around the community talking about how like Gears of War over time has become less skill based. And I have 100%, 1000% disagreed with this notion. A lot of people saying that Gears of War 2 was the most skill-based Gears of War title ever made. In my mind, guys, and I say this, because, after playing all the Gears of War titles up to this point in time and being a passionate fan of it, I always thought that Gears of War 3 had, the skill gap was definitely there, and I thought it was the most skilled Gears of War title because it was very easy to play but very hard to master. Epic Games had made this title, they wanted to make it so that everybody could kind of try it, and it was easy to play, like I said, but at the highest level was very difficult to master. And I feel like the Coalition took this to another level in Gears of War 4. Now, Gears 5, you could argue wasn't quite as competitive as Gears of War 4, but to me at least, Gears of War 4 was the most competitive I've ever seen a Gears title up to this point. And I give a lot of flowers to the Coalition for doing that in particular and really creating that type of environment. Gears of War, guys, is without question one of the most underrated skilled-based shooters that we've ever seen as well. I mean, and that, I think, I just think it's a very underrated title in general. When you think of this as one of the best-selling titles ever for Xbox, and you consider and you look at like the Gears esports scene has been shut down for the foreseeable future, it just tells you that we still have a niche community, but there's so many people who haven't tried Gears of War out yet or giving it a chance in terms of when we talk about from skill to just playing the story and all of those different things. And so I think that there's definitely something to be said for this being the most skilled shooter ever made, for sure. Even if when you go from game to game, it's a little bit different, obviously, and the skill base and the skill gaps and things of that nature are going to fluctuate from title to title. But I got to say, I agree with him in a massive way.
Call of Duty who are complaining about the ways that this game is changing, it's not fast-paced enough for you, check out Gears of War. Seriously, if you're an Xbox player or you're on PC and you're tired of that and you want a really fast-paced game, this game is literally designed for you. But as I was saying, that fast-paced, shotgun-only charm really takes away from having to aim 24/7, and it adds an emphasis on thinking. Gears of War is more than just shooting, it's a knowledge game. It's almost like playing a game of chess. It's about positioning, being able to rotate around a certain area. Shoot, you can even hold down one location, and just based on how you hold it, how you grab your cover, how you rotate through cover, how you get your right hand angles, how you position yourself, will truly decide if you're going to win or lose a gunfight 110% over just being able to initially land your shots. Now don't get me wrong, in any game out there, landing your shots is extremely important. If you're going into the competitive scene and you're expecting to use your brain to outthink some players, but you can't shoot, don't expect to play competitively. But I'm talking about casuals as well. That's why I said Gears of War is amazing not only for competitive scene, but for the casuals who want to get into this game, because they don't have to hop into a quick play and worry about getting stomped every single 5 seconds if they don't know how to shoot too well, because it really comes down to how well you can position yourself first. And as long as you're not versing the ultimate sweat lords, you can still have a good time. And even when you go into a competitive scene, it's some of the best gameplay you will ever witness in your whole life. Like I said, every single competitive esport out there has strategy. Halo, Call of Duty, shoot, even Battlefield comp has strategy. But I think, personally, Gears of War has the best competitive play because, like I said, you get to see some of the smartest and best players truly pick apart enemies. Like I said, it's more than just being able to shoot the opponent. It's more than just having a good head glitch on a flag and being able to beam someone down real quick. You actually have to think. It takes brain power to be able to maneuver the map and maneuver your opponent successfully. A lot of these other games nowadays are completely mindless. You hop into a game of COD, there's not much thought process into it. They add so much cheese, so many, easy frags that you could possibly get that you don't really have to think. You just go. And I have nothing wrong with that. Call of Duty has its own unique taste, and that's what makes that game so popular. That's why it outsells pretty much everything in the whole world every single year, because it has a unique playstyle. But like I said, after a certain amount of time, it gets boring. And if you're not playing in a competitive scene, you'll just see tons of just absolute bullcrap deaths that will drive you completely nuts. This game right here, you will never see bullcrap deaths unless you have bad connection, bad ping, and lag is going to be the death of you. But when it comes down to pure skill, every death can be learned from. You're not going to be killed by the overpowered shotguns. You're not going to be killed by, ARs that two-tap you. You're not going to be killed by overpowered sniper rifles. You're not going to be killed by absolute beam machines of LMGs. No. Everything in this game is skill-based. If you died, it's because you did something incorrectly. And all the weapons, in my personal opinion, take skill. You can't have any stupidly overpowered weapons on your body right off the spawn. You have to fight for the power weapons, just like in any other arena shooter. So if you want to get a grenade launcher, if you want the sniper rifle, you have to actually go to those points and fight for it on the objective, forcing you and the other player to have an equal fight with equal weaponry to get the better weaponry overall. And once you go ahead and win this gunfight and pick up the special weaponry, it's not just like it's going to be easy frags, The enemies are still going to fear you because you have a power weapon, but you still have to know how to use it. You have to understand the most efficient way of using each power weapon. And if you don't, then guess what? You'll probably die and someone will end up picking it up afterwards.
So I want to talk about this really quick because I think he's making some really good points here. I mean, what I I love so much about Gears, and you could even say Halo to an extent here, being more like arena shooters, where the the difference between a game like Gears of War and a title like Call of Duty is Call of Duty, you can customize your weapons and all these different things, whereas with Gears of War, it's going to be a title in which everybody's starting off with the same exact weapons, and then there's going to be power weapons on the map, so there's a lot more strategy. And one of the best things that was implemented into Gears of War 4, in my personal opinion, was a game mode called Escalation. Became my favorite game mode in Gears of War. Obviously, I love Execution as well, which is kind of like that S&D type style game mode. But Escalation, I thought, really was like the best change, or the best new game mode that was added into a third-person, shooter, arena shooter. And I think that really is what makes Gears of War like such a skilled shooter, is because everybody's on the same playing field. And obviously, it's about how you strategize and all of those things. He's right when he says that it's like a game of chess. I mean, you could say Call of Duty is, Valorant, all these other titles, you could say that they're all, essentially games of chess. But Gears of War, there's something about it that really creates, because everybody is starting off with the exact same weapons, that's why, in my mind, it's definitely, without question, the most skill-based, third-person shooter. Now, a lot of people would argue Fortnite, just because of the building element to it. If you're talking, building, obviously, I think that Fortnite is incredibly skill-based. I mean, there's no question in my mind. I think that it could very well definitely top Gears of War in terms of being the most skill-based third-person shooter ever. But when you start talking about titles like other shooters that are out there, like you're talking Call of Duty, Halo, games of that nature, you could put Gears of War up against any of them, and you could say there's definitely an argument to be had there.
It's fantastic because it really does add a level of skill to each and every game, and it doesn't allow anybody to be one step ahead of anybody in that lobby. There's no perk out there, there's no weapon out there, there's no pay-to-win method that will give you any advantage within Gears of War. If you suck with a shotgun, then you just have to get good with it and learn how to actually move and rotate around the map. Take your time, learn patience, learn actually how to think around your enemy instead of just finding out how to frag around your enemy. And unlike these other games, team play is truly required, but keep this in mind, even though it's required, you don't have to actually communicate in order for team play to be effective. I think that's one of the main reasons why I love Gears of War so much. I'm going to be completely honest with you guys. I can go into ranked matches. I don't need to talk. I don't need to say anything. You just kind of flow. You flow with your teammates. You don't really have to go into too much detail. You don't have to scream at one another. If you understand how to play Gears and your other teammates understand, you guys will just kind of synchronize together. Unlike in other games like, let's say Call of Duty or Battlefield. Battlefield's a good example. Team play is very crucial in a game like Battlefield. Yet and still, if you aren't playing with friends, if you're not playing with anybody who knows what they're doing, you're not going to get meds. You're not going to get ammo. You're not going to get anybody taking out the tanks. Nobody's going to be capturing the objectives. Nobody kind of synchronizes. Nobody comes together. You know what I'm saying? And sometimes they do, and those are the best matches, but it's not very often. It's far in between where you finally get a match like that. Especially in tac shooters like Rainbow Six Siege, CSGO, Valorant. These games you have to communicate. You can't just stay quiet. You have to let people know where they're at, where they're located, where they're pushing. There's so many different things that you have to communicate with your team in order for them to understand. So if you hop into a game of Valorant, CSGO, or Rainbow and your teammates aren't talking to you, you're probably going to lose. Gears, I have no problem whatsoever. It's just outstanding. That's how well designed this game is. It has such a heavy emphasis on team play and coordination, being able to play off of each other's bodies to overcome the opponents and, help each other take over these power weapons. It's just phenomenal, and I don't even have to say a word to anybody. And I think all of those things together truly makes Gears of War a one-of-a-kind, outstanding experience. Because like I said, there's other creative shooters out there. I love Uncharted. I love The Last of Us. Uncharted was so unique and special. A third-person shooter. You could pretty much parkour over the whole map. You can pick the weirdest and coolest positions to be able to attack and ambush your opponents. And The Last of Us adding such a cool survival aspect to a third-person shooter. I never thought a PvP game would have such a survival vibe to it, but they did it perfectly. I would love to see them do it again. But those games, despite them being very creative and unique in the shooting platform, they still require tons and tons and tons of communication. If you're playing with a team and you're playing competitively, or if you're even versing someone who is semi-competent, you're going to have trouble if you can't talk, communicate, and let people know what's going on around you, what you have picked up, what you can craft, where you're flanking. All of these factors come into play, and I think that's what helps Gears of War stand out. That, along with just the absolute gruesome, gory gameplay as well, that makes it stand out as well, baby. But Gears of War, to me personally, with all those things, has to be the best shooter out there. Third person, first person, it doesn't matter to me. This game is a mind game. It's almost like playing a game of chess mixed with a shooting game. It's just outstanding in every possible way.
Okay, so, I think that, a lot of the things, awesome video by J-Bo and Demand. You guys can check out his channel. It'll be linked in the description down below. But there's a lot of things that I think that he's definitely, like nails on the head. I'm sure a lot of huge Gears fans like myself love hearing a lot of the things that he's talking about. And, I love to be able to say that, Gears of War, in my mind, I think it's an underrated skilled shooter. I think that, is it the most skilled shooter ever? I think that you could have made an argument for it before Fortnite. Fortnite, guys, look, even though I don't play it really much anymore. I love that they brought Zero Build back and all these different things. Fortnite, whether you love it or hate it, Fortnite transcended gaming from a multitude of different perspectives, from free to play and that motto to, obviously the skill-based, building element, which really is what kind of separated people from each other. The skill gap was separated by those who could build really well versus those who really couldn't. And, and with Gears of War, you could say that that's some of the things, that you could compare to like Fortnite would be like wall bouncing, or you could say just your skill at using your Nasher or using the power weapons and things of that nature. You could compare it slightly to something like Fortnite. I would say that Fortnite, at least in my mind right here, right now, is the most skill-based third-person shooter. Now, Gears of War is a very close second, in my opinion. I would say that Gears of War is a very much so an underrated skilled shooter. And when people try to say that there's no skill in Gears of War anymore, is laughable, in my personal opinion. Would I say that Gears 5 is as competitive and as skill-based as, say, Gears of War 4 was? No, I'm not going to say that. I think Gears of War 4 was the most skill-based Gears of War we've ever seen at this point in time, from the competitive scene, that being esports, to just playing casually with your friends and such, or by yourself. But Gears 5... it's still a title. I love Gears 5, right? I think it's absolutely, I love it. But you can just jump in there. You can play with your friends or play by yourself. And there is an element of like that chess, right? Even when you're playing something like Horde mode, you're still strategizing, and you're still, even when you're playing with your friends and such, you still can strategize. And there is a skill gap there to that. And so, to me, I love this. Gears of War to me is a incredibly skill-based shooter, and there's no debate about it. I would love to hear your guys' thoughts, though, about it. Do you think it's the most skill-based? Do you think it's like top 5? What do you guys think? And its comparisons to games like Call of Duty, Battlefield, Fortnite, all these other shooters that are out there. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. And for more Gears of War content and videos, stay here with Zero TV. Obviously, there have been a number of rumors, rumblings of, what could be coming here in the future when it comes to the Gears of War collection. And so I'm gonna kind of draw emphasis from a couple of different sources. That being said, I definitely want to hear what your guys' thoughts are in the comment section down below. And by the way, guys, for all of you joining us, welcome everyone to the Gears Cast. So let's talk about the Gears of War collection here and about everything that we know in 2022. So right here, right now, what are the things that we know at this point in time? Well, here we go. This article is going to be coming to us from Hiram Cryer of Games Radar. Gears of War could be getting the Master Chief Collection treatment. So another Xbox franchise will get a collection package similar to Halo the Master Chief Collection, it's been claimed. Obviously, guys, we've talked about this a lot, but the new rumor comes from Nick Baker, host of the Xbox Era podcast, who says that there is another Microsoft franchise that will be getting the Master Chief Collection treatment. While Baker says he wasn't allowed to reveal which franchise it was, The Verge's Tom Warren tweeted that the gears are really turning on this rumor, fueling speculation that the collection will be attached to the Gears of War franchise. Halo the Master Chief Collection bundled together all existing mainline Halo games for one package on PC and Xbox consoles, eventually introducing spin-off games like Halo Reach to the fold through updates, as well as putting on its own multiplayer offerings. The possibility of another Xbox-owned franchise receiving the same treatment really does have the rumor mill churning. Gears of War is the immediately obvious possibility, with 5 mainline games and 2 spin-off titles in Judgment and Gears Tactics, although the latter launched just relatively recently for Xbox consoles and PC. Other responses on social media suggested that Baker could be referring to Fable. Now, obviously, guys, that comes out, but then shortly after, or I should say, a number of months after these articles came out about, the rumor mill coming that Gears of War's collection is something that is probably coming, and then, obviously Nick Baker went ahead and pretty much all but confirmed that it was Gears of War. He had mentioned that it was something that was definitely, coming. But then comes, obviously, an article coming to us from Exputer, Ahmad Mansour. So the heavily rumored collection treatment of the franchise is possibly not true. Halo the Master Chief Collection was a huge success for Microsoft and Xbox Game Studios when it launched in 2014. It has sold more than 8 million copies and got further enhancements in 2019 and 2020. Players love this compilation of the first 4 games a lot, and the reception speaks for itself. After this success, Microsoft rightly thought that some other popular series could benefit from this treatment. Rumors started circulating that another Xbox Games Studio franchise was getting a Halo the Master Chief Collection-like bundle. Gears of War was at the center of this rumor mill due to a report from an accredited journalist, Nick Baker. While talking on the Xbox Era podcast, he said that some sort of Gears of War collection is in the works. Furthermore, the industry insider also said that it would release this year too. However, a contradictory report has come out from another very credible industry insider, Ches Gordon now. Ches Gordon has said in a recent tweet that he doesn't think that a Gears of War collection actually exists. The industry insider originally said that the Gears of War collection won't be shown to us at the Xbox and Bethesda Game Showcase. Afterward, while replying to someone who asked for an elaboration, the industry insider said that he doesn't think that there's a possibility of a Gears of War collection existing. Now, look, I believe, guys, that the Gears of War collection still exists. I think that it's definitely coming at some point or another in the foreseeable future. Do I think that it's going to be, obviously I was wrong thinking it was going to come out this year. But that being said, I do think that it's something that's going to come out next year in 2023. I think we were a year off from it coming out. I also think that it's still going to be that bridge title from Gears 5 to Gears 6. Gears of War is such a massive universe and franchise. I feel that for Microsoft, it only makes sense for this to be a collection that's coming out. I mean, sure, the people who are talking about it being like Forza or Fable being the collection that's coming out instead of Gears of War, I think that those should get collections as well. But Gears of War definitely needs a collection without question. And I think that it's, it being one of the most popular games for Xbox, it only makes sense for them to bring this out, especially because of how long we're waiting for the next installment of Gears of War. We have never waited this long for a new installment in the Gears of War franchise. But that being said, while what Ches has said about the Gears of War collection is opposite to the popular rumors, many agreed with what Nick Baker originally said back in May about a new Xbox Game Studios collection arriving. However, Ches Gordon's comment has put all of this into doubt. Even though the existence of the Gears of War collection is now in doubt, Microsoft is still probably making a Halo the Master Chief Collection-esque collection. Ches Gordon didn't contradict this point either, and it makes a lot of sense. However, the question now is what this collection will be if not Gears of War. Many players think that we might be getting a Fable collection from Microsoft, while others think a Forza collection might be on the way. However, nothing's certain at the moment. If this news is true, it will be a bummer for the players. So, look, at the end of the day, guys, I mean, obviously, I've said this, that I want a Gears of War collection, without a doubt. But the difference, though, for me is that I want Gears 6 more than the Gears of War collection, because the Gears of War collection is going to allow you to more reminisce of the past, whereas Gears 6 is going to really move us forward into the future Gears of War. But I do believe that it's still going to be a bridge title. I think, Nick Baker he doubled down on this after this, talk from Ches Gordon came out. Nick Baker comes out saying that, he never said that the Coalition were the ones working on the Gears of War collection. Maybe it's a different studio. And that's when we started talking on the YouTube channel about, different other studios that could be working on the Gears of War collection. The one that comes to my mind is People Can Fly. They already worked on Gears of War Judgment. This is a remaster. I would trust them to do it, even though they're working on and supporting Outriders. I think that them working on the Gears of War collection could be something really special. They could have learned from their mistakes of what they did with Gears of War Judgment. And, I think I could definitely trust them to do a remaster for Gears of War, their collection, that being Gears 1, 2, 3, as well as Gears of War Judgment. Or the other one would be Epic Games. I think Epic Games would be awesome. That would be crazy from a narrative perspective. I don't think that it's very likely that they're doing it, but I think that one of those two would be really awesome to see do the Gears of War collection. I do think it still exists, guys. I just think that we're a year off. I think we're probably going to see it in 2023, and then we're going to get Gears 6 in 2024 or 2025. But with that being said, guys, those are the things that we know at this point in time about the Gears of War collection. We don't know a lot right now, right? There's lots of contradictory reports coming around here in 2022 about the Gears of War collection. I think we're going to start hearing more and more as the later we get into 2022 and then into 2023. But let me know, what do you guys think? Do you think the Gears of War collection exists? Do you think it's something that's coming? Or do you think it's something that's not coming? Let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. And for more Gears of War collection content and videos, stay here with Zero TV. In this next segment of the show, I want to talk about a Gears of War 6 wish list. Things that we would like to see, guys, in Gears 6. And I'm very excited to go over this. King Abs, I've reacted to a number of his videos in the past on the YouTube channel. I'm going to react to this one. He made a video talking about Gears 6 and a multiplayer wish list, the things that he really wants to see out of Gears 6. And I definitely want to react to this, give you guys some of my thoughts, and I'd love to hear yours in the comment section down below. So let's get into it.
Here are some of my multiplayer desires of things I want to see in Gears 6. Now from this list of mine, you'll see two common themes from what I want to see. A return to form, as well as innovation, meaning I want to see Gears of War multiplayer feel like Gears of War once again, and I also want to see lots of expansion and innovation, making the most of the Gears of War universe with today's technological advancements. So in Gears of War 3, Epic Games launched a new mode which was called Beast Mode, where we were finally able to play as the deadly, unique locust creatures for the first time, fighting against AI cog soldiers. This mode was very well received and loved by many. 2 years later, in Gears of War Judgment, Epic Games took Beast Mode one step further by turning it into Overrun. This was where one team would play as the locust monsters and one team would play as the cog. This mode was also very well received, but didn't really reach the same amount of popularity as Beast Mode. This was because Gears of War Judgment was clouded with other issues at the time, and therefore Gears of War had really fallen off the gaming map. So, with over 10 years since we've seen Overrun, why not try an Overrun 2.0 mode in Gears of War 6, where we can play as the Locust, Lambent and Swarm factions against the cog. But I would call it 2.0 because I'd want it to be bigger, badder and better with today's technological capabilities. So on bigger maps, 10v10, 20 versus 20, etc. And this could essentially be Gears of War's version of Big Team Battle from Halo, and creating a mode that is exceptionally unique to Gears of War with the locust creatures, fortifications, vehicles and so on. Millions of gamers always play Gears of War for its campaign, but many of them don't even touch the multiplayer because of how niche and skill demanding it is. So I think an Overrun 2.0 mode would bridge that gap and integrate more players into Gears of War multiplayer, which will be a huge step forward.
So I cannot agree more with what Abs is saying in terms of bringing back Beast Mode. Beast Mode was awesome, guys, in Gears of War 3. I definitely was, and this is just an attribute to Gears of War as a franchise. One of the things that Gears of War has done so well over the years is always innovated and gotten better and created really awesome, game modes over time. Now, not everyone thinks that the newer Gears of War titles are as good as the old ones. I love the newer Gears of War titles overall for what they are. Not everybody does. One of the things, though, that I love about, the older titles, though, was that innovation. And I still feel like we're getting innovation to this day. The Coalition introducing, a semi-open world in Gears 5 to escalation in Gears of War 4, which I thought was, my newest favorite game mode for really gaming in general. I absolutely loved escalation when that was first introduced. Still love it to this day. But Beast Mode is just another mode to really, that they could bring back that could definitely be something really special. Somewhat like kind of bridging that skill gap, so to speak, and giving more and more new players or players that don't want to go through the gauntlet of playing multiplayer. They can play with their friends and things of that nature in Beast Mode. And it's similar to Horde Mode, just kind of a role reversal. And I think that it could be something really special moving forward. So I love the idea of having like a Beast 2.0.
Horde mode has been a staple of Gears of War games since its introduction in Gears of War 2. So what made this mode so unique as well as Overrun and Beast mode? Well, the Locust creatures. The Locust creatures that you would fight, wave after wave, and then the Lambent monstrosities that were introduced in Gears of War 3. Now, as you know, I love my Gears of War lore, and you may have seen some of the lore videos on my channel. But for multiplayer, I don't think a game should be restricted to being canon. I think the fun element should be prioritized. So what I would propose is for the next Horde mode to add every enemy in Horde history to its roster and really go all out with it. I would also like to see an option where it doesn't just have to be 5 players anymore. Why not have a 10-player option too on a bigger map where even Locust bosses like General Ram and the Tempest attack you? Or even having multiple COG teams fighting the AI enemies and the teams have to basically outlast the other team to win. A similar concept to Black Ops 2's Grief Zombies mode. I think the base concept of Horde mode is brilliant and they need to expand it as well as trying cool variations of it as well.
And I agree with this. I think that Horde mode needs to continue to adapt and innovate and evolve over time. And I think they've done a good job of this, but I think in Gears 6, I agree. Kind of making it bigger, better, more friendly to new players who are trying to kind of get their feet wet with Gears of War, who are new to the franchise and things of that nature. I've stated this many times that I feel like there's certain game modes with Gears 6 that should absolutely be free to play, similar to like what Halo Infinite did. We've seen this with Fortnite and all this other stuff. I think that the multiplayer should certainly be free to play with Gears 6, but I even think some of these other modes that have maybe been around for a while should also be free to play. I mean, having like a Horde mode that's free to play would really get people to at least try it out, because not everyone's going to want to even do Gears 6 from a multiplayer perspective, even if it's free to play. They may try it, but they're going to want to see if there's anything else that they could maybe play that's free, and one of those things could certainly be Horde mode. And then maybe you put the paywall like for the campaign, and like, if they add Beast mode and things of that nature, you obviously have to pay for the full version of that, or just download it with Xbox Game Pass. But that definitely, at least in my mind, would be something, really special if Horde mode was maybe, just maybe, a free-to-play mode in Gears 6.
When it comes to recent years for Gears of War, I think the methods of attaining cosmetics, characters and skins has been met with controversy. So I'd like to propose some ideas from past Gears of War games, as well as other new games on the market, to take Gears of War customization and incentives to the next level. So the first way would be to unlock some characters from your progression in the campaign, as well as from attaining certain levels in multiplayer. This is very similar to how it was done in Gears of War 3, non-time based incentives to keep gamers hooked. But when it comes to unlocking characters, I believe it's a given that fan favourites like Delta Squad and the Carmines should be in the base game without unlocking, as Gears fans do have a strong connection to their favourite characters. So they shouldn't make the same mistake as Gears 5's launch by releasing with minimal characters. The second way to improve customization would be to implement progressive customization. Now this involves unlockable styles or stages that can be changed at any time once unlocked via the locker tab. We've seen this concept work very well for games like Fortnite, so I'm wondering how Gears could implement this as well. So for Gear 6 this could work where you start off with a base character like the Locust Grenadier. Then as you complete challenges and as you earn stars or XP, you unlock the next stages of the character. So the Grenadier Elite and the Flame Grenadier, the Savage Grenadier and even the Savage Grenadier Elite. These skins would all be at different stages and you can switch back between them as you go. And the third way is in-depth customization. So for over 10 years, Gears of War has focused on character skins and weapon skins when it comes to customization. But there are also ways for players to go more in depth and tailor their online characters to their desires. From different armor sets, different helmets for Cog and Locust, different armor colors and so on. And if Overrun 2.0 ever does make it into the game, I'm wondering if you could have unique skins for the different Locust creatures as well. That would be very cool.
I 100% agree with him on this one. I think having new ways with customization, I love the idea of like the progression of each character as you play as that character, as you complete challenges, you're kind of upgrading the armor, things of that nature. I've always said this though, that I felt like the skins and things of that nature in game were some of the best in gaming. Like I love the different weapon skins that they've creatively come up with in Gears of War, like, you know, from weapon skins to even, you know, like cosmetic skins that the characters have. Some of it's gone a little bit too far, feels a little bit too much like Fortnite and such, not, you know, grounded and gritty enough at times. But my biggest thing with that is to have items that you earn, not so much just pay for. Because when you can just pay for them, I feel like it just takes the fun out of it. It takes a lot of, you know, obviously the grind that it takes to get to certain, you know, different customizable items and such. It just takes all of that away. Like I never forget with Halo Reach, when you were trying to get to Inheritor rank, which was such a grind to get there, when you would finally get there, you got the Inheritor suit, the skull mask, all this different stuff. That was really awesome. Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2, the 10th Prestige Medallion. It was such a grind to get there. And, you know, it was just a really awesome thing to show off to everyone that you had earned those things. And that's what we really need. We need more earnable items than payable items in Gear 6, without question.
Now, a well-loved mode from Gears of War 2 was Wingman, where there would be 5 teams of 2, single life rounds battling it out. This was and still is one of my favourite Gears game modes of all time. It was so ridiculously fun, and I really wish it makes a return in Gears of War 6. Like I said with other modes, even if they want to expand Wingman even more with an option of more players and teams with even a shrinking zone, then definitely try experimenting with it. Gears of War multiplayer, in my estimation, also needs to use the universe at its disposal to create new game mode ideas to really help its multiplayer shine and just evolve really. I have mentioned ideas in the past about having a Thrashball game mode which would work similar to Uplink from COD, to a Lambency infection mode and so on. I think some of the older game modes that are still shoehorned into newer Gears of War games are quite dated in my opinion, and if a Marcus Phoenix collection does happen, then those older game modes can work best in the collection, in their prime, and on the maps and gameplay that they were designed for. But for Gear 6, I want them to get the creative juices flowing, whilst respecting the core values of Gears of War multiplayer, making sure not to create modes that are useless and aren't memorable, well balanced, nor fun.
So yeah, I think that having, you know, some of the game modes, Wingman would be cool to bring back into the fray. I really love though that the creativity that we've seen over time where they've tried different game modes. Now, what I do think they need to do is narrow down like the popular modes, maybe add 1 or 2 new modes. Don't add too many new modes. Escalation was my favorite game mode that they incorporated into Gears of War 4, that being the Coalition. So I'm totally down with them continuing to innovate and create new game modes. I just more so wanted to kind of, obviously you don't want to split the whole community amongst a ton of different game modes. So that's why I think narrowing it down from ranked to unranked playlists to, where you can play with your friends and things of that nature. And it's not like you're getting spread out too much. When you have too many game modes, that's where I think it can become a problem. And so I really hope that they have a good balance in Gears 6.
The Gears of War community are quite split when it comes to the tuning and some of the gameplay mechanics due to the franchise having different multiplayer iterations over the years. Throughout Gears 5's game cycle, and even previous Gears of War games, too much time was spent trying to balance the Nasher shotgun and the intertwining mechanics of the movement and so on that go hand in hand with the weapon tuning. I think they need to figure out a direction and stick to it. Grow a backbone and go with the direction that is best for the legacy players, as well as perhaps making it more accessible to grow the franchise's player base once again. One solution could be by removing wall cancelling to make it more accessible. I don't know, I'm not a developer, so I don't know the solution. But for me personally, I did enjoy Gears multiplayer most when there was a higher skill ceiling, because that's just the integrity of Gears of War multiplayer. I prefer games that are harder to master and be good at. And I don't like how most video games nowadays want to hold players' hands. I think Gears 5's multiplayer has been perhaps the easiest multiplayer ever, so for me personally I do prefer a higher skill ceiling. I think Gears' traditional multiplayer can afford to be more niche if Horde is innovated further, as well as introducing modes like Overrun 2.0 that aren't the traditional Nasher shotgun and wall bouncing and strafing fights. This gives more options for plenty of players, old and new.
Okay, so I gotta disagree a little bit with Abs on this one. The narrative that Gears 5 was not, like, the skill gap wasn't significant enough. It wasn't, in the skill ceiling, it was the easiest Gears game ever to play. I disagree with that notion quite, in a number of ways. Now, will I say that it was it's the easiest game to play, hardest game to master? No. But I do think, from at least playing all the Gears of War titles at this point, from, just playing it, competitively with, whether you're with your friends, so to playing it just casually with other people, I think that Gears of War, Gears of War 3 to me was, I loved the balance that it had, where you bring in new people, where it was easy to play, but it was really hard to master. I look at that as the standard should be Gears of War 4 and what they did there. Because Gears of War 4 to me, at least in my mind, was the best from a competitive perspective. From the esports scene, it was the most competitive Gears I had ever seen, for sure. And Gears of War 2 certainly had a lot of great moments when it came to, in terms of that competitive ceiling and skill gap. But I think that Gears 5, I actually think that there was a lot to, you could really tell great players to good players to mediocre players. You could really see that in a pretty major way. And I'm not saying that the game was easy. Maybe it was easier certainly than Gears of War 4, but I still think that you could see there was definitely a skill gap. Would I like to see that, be exceeded, of course, in Gears 6? Of course, I think that we have to continue innovating, continuing moving forward here. But I think that Gears 5 was good in a number of ways, even though, yes, it was a step down from Gears of War 4 from a, that skill gap and things of that nature. So I'd like to see them go back to more of a Gears of War 4, but even maybe making that ceiling even higher for sure.
So Forge is a game mode originally released in Halo 3, designed by Bungie to allow players to customize, save and share maps for custom games. Forge was originally created to be used by players to make relatively simple changes to maps in order to tweak their gameplay experience. But over the years in Halo, Forge has been improved by functioning as a map editor and gameplay space. Forge will also arrive in Halo Infinite sometime soon, and we can generally assume this version of Forge mode would be levels above the previous older iterations, granting more creativity and ability. So I'm wondering if Gear 6 can take a page out of Halo's book when it comes to user-generated content and allowing Gears players to edit and create new maps, new modes, and the ability to create a gameplay space for the community. It's a shame that Gears 5's map editor was scaled back because of the issues surrounding the game, but a Gears Forge mode would improve the longevity of the game tenfold and will allow for more content and longevity of the Gears of War community.
Okay, so in terms of the Forge mode, I agree full-heartedly with Abs on this one. Forge mode is, and having that in Gears 6 is going to be something, could be very special for sure. Having the map builder was cool, but I really want to see that, double down on, and they really push that even to the next level, because I think it's going to create a lot of content for obviously content creators and just for people in general who want to create maps and things of that nature. But it's also the community helping the coalition when it comes to new maps and things of that nature. You never know, and because there's been a number of times throughout like Call of Duty's history, Dr. Disrespect makes a map and then it's actually played at the highest level of Call of Duty, or it's just accepted as a part of one of the new DLC maps and things of that nature. I think there's so much creativity in the Gears of War universe and the community as a whole that people could come up with some really awesome ideas and awesome maps for the coalition. It's basically us doing the work for the coalition when it comes to the maps and things of that nature, maps that people really enjoy and things of that nature. I would absolutely love to see like a Forge mode or like a map builder 2.0 that's something that is elaborated upon and something that could be really special. But with that being said, guys, those are all the things that, as far as the Gears 6 multiplayer wishlist that Abs would like to see. There's lots of things I would love to see, guys, and a lot of things I agree with him on. In terms of this wish list, what are some of the things that you guys would like to see? Let us know in the comment section down below. And for more Gears 6 content and videos, stay here with Zero TV. And with that being said, everyone, I hope you guys did enjoy this episode of the Gears Cast. And if you guys did, make sure you guys leave a thumbs up, guys. That helps out the YouTube channel in a massive way. Subscribe if you're new. That really helps out, guys, with getting, new and further videos that are going to be coming out on the YouTube channel. I appreciate each and every one of you who is liking the content, subscribing to the content. It's because of you guys that we are growing every single day. So thank you so much for that, guys. Stay positive. Just keep grinding. And as always, I'll talk to you guys all in the next one. Peace.